In a quiet suburban neighborhood, my family's RV became the center of an unexpected conflict with our homeowners association, or HOA. The RV, a cherished possession, represented not just our love for travel but also countless memories spent on family road trips. For years, it had parked in our driveway, a familiar sight that seemed to blend seamlessly into the fabric of our lives. However, the HOA had recently tightened its regulations regarding parking and vehicle storage, enforcing rules that many residents felt were overly strict. Despite our attempts to stay compliant, we received a towing notice that left us stunned. The letter cited violations we believed were unfounded, claiming the RV was an eyesore and posed a nuisance to the community. It felt like an overreach, a violation of our rights as homeowners and a blatant disregard for the personal connection we had with our RV. As we grappled with this unexpected situation, we couldn't shake the feeling that something more sinister was at play. Little did we know that this battle would uncover layers of surveillance and scrutiny far beyond what any homeowner should endure. Our story began with a simple parking issue but would soon spiral into a revelation of police involvement, raising questions about privacy and the power dynamics between residents and their governing bodies. This conflict would challenge us to stand up not only for our property rights but also for the very essence of community living. The day our RV was towed started like any other. I remember stepping outside, coffee in hand, ready to embark on another week of work. But as I glanced toward the driveway, my heart sank. The familiar sight of our RV was gone, replaced by an empty space where it had always stood. Confused and alarmed, I rushed to check the mailbox, hoping for an explanation. That's when I found the towing notice pinned to our front door. The notice claimed that our RV was in violation of HOA rules and had been deemed a nuisance. It stated that we had failed to comply with their regulations regarding vehicle storage. Shocked, we felt blindsided. This was the first we had heard of any issues, and it left us scrambling for answers. After all, we had taken care to keep our property tidy and well-maintained. Desperate to retrieve our RV, we contacted the towing company immediately. They were unsympathetic, informing us that it would cost a hefty sum to get it back. As we navigated this frustrating situation, it became clear that the HOA's actions were not just about enforcing rules but also about asserting control over residents' lives. In that moment of chaos and disbelief, we began to question everything, the motives behind the HOA's decision, and whether there was more to this story than met the eye. Little did we know that our ordeal with the towing company would soon lead us down a path of shocking revelations and unexpected encounters with law enforcement. As we grappled with the aftermath of the towing incident, a startling revelation emerged that turned our frustration into disbelief. While discussing our situation with neighbors, we overheard murmurings about increased police presence in the area, particularly around our street. Curiosity piqued. I decided to dig deeper into this unsettling connection. Days later, during an informal chat with a local officer at a community event, I learned that law enforcement had been surveilling our RV for several weeks prior to its towing. According to the officer, complaints had been filed about our vehicle, prompting them to monitor it closely. The notion that police were actively watching our property felt invasive and surreal. We had never imagined that our family's cherished RV could attract such attention. This revelation raised numerous questions in my mind. Who had filed the complaints? What exactly were they claiming? Was the HOA working hand-in-hand with local law enforcement to target us? The idea that our neighbors, or even HOA members, could have initiated such scrutiny felt like a betrayal. As we began to connect the dots, it became clear that the situation extended far beyond a simple parking violation. It was a troubling intersection of community governance and policing, leaving us feeling cornered and vulnerable. We realized we needed to stand up not only for our property but also against what felt like an unjust invasion of privacy. This discovery would fuel our determination to confront both the HOA and the hidden forces at play in our community. To fully understand the gravity of our situation, it was essential to explore the historical context of our HOA and its relationship with the community. Established years ago to maintain property values and promote neighborhood aesthetics, the HOA initially seemed like a benign force. However, over time, it evolved into a stringent governing body that often enforced rules with an iron fist. Residents frequently complained about the HOA's heavy-handed tactics, from fining homeowners for minor infractions to imposing strict regulations on everything from lawn decorations to vehicle parking. Many felt that the board had strayed far from its original intent, becoming more interested in control than community welfare. The towing of my RV was just the latest in a string of contentious actions that had left neighbors feeling uneasy. Moreover, The atmosphere within the community had shifted dramatically. Once a close-knit neighborhood where residents shared barbecues and holiday gatherings, interactions now felt strained and cautious. People were afraid to voice their opinions for fear of retaliation from the HOA. In fact, I learned that several families had faced similar issues with their vehicles or landscaping choices, leading to a growing sense of discontent. This backdrop of tension made our experience all the more poignant. It wasn't just about our RV. It was emblematic of a larger struggle between homeowners seeking autonomy and an HOA exerting its authority. As we navigated our predicament, it became clear that we were not alone. Many in our community were yearning for change and a return to the spirit of neighborliness that once defined our home. In the wake of the towing incident and the shocking discovery of police surveillance, my family was determined to take action. We felt a deep sense of injustice, not only over the loss of our RV, but also because of the invasive nature of the situation. It was time to stand up for our rights and challenge both the HOA and the implications of their partnership with law enforcement. Our first step was to retrieve the RV. Armed with the towing notice and a growing sense of resolve, we contacted the towing company once again. This time, we approached them with a firm stance, demanding clarity regarding the charges and our rights as homeowners. We insisted on reviewing any documentation that justified their actions. The representative, sensing our frustration, reluctantly agreed to provide us with additional information. Simultaneously, we began gathering support from neighbors who shared our concerns about the HOA's tactics. We organized a small meeting at our home, inviting those affected by similar issues to come together and discuss potential solutions. The turnout was encouraging. Many residents expressed their frustrations and offered stories that echoed our own. As we united in our shared experiences, we crafted a plan to confront the HOA board. We decided to draft a formal letter outlining our grievances, including demands for transparency in their decision-making processes and a reevaluation of their rules regarding vehicle storage. Our family's response transformed from individual outrage into collective action, igniting a sense of empowerment that had long been absent in our community. Together, we felt ready to challenge the status quo and reclaim our neighborhood spirit. As we continued to rally support from our neighbors, the question of police involvement loomed large. We felt compelled to investigate why law enforcement had been monitoring our RV and to understand the circumstances surrounding their surveillance. It was crucial to determine whether the HOA had instigated this scrutiny and what legal justifications existed for such actions. To start, I reached out to a few local officers I had met during community events. They were generally open to conversation, and I was able to gather valuable insights into their operations. During our discussions, I learned that the police response was often triggered by complaints from residents. This raised a crucial question: who among our neighbors had felt compelled to escalate their grievances to law enforcement? Determined to find answers, I began tracking down residents who had filed complaints against us. Through casual conversations, I discovered that some individuals had concerns about the RV being parked too long in the driveway and its potential impact on property values. However, many of these concerns seemed exaggerated or unfounded. This investigation led me to seek public records regarding police reports and HOA correspondence related to our RV. As I pieced together information, it became clear that a small faction within the HOA was eager to maintain control, even if it meant involving law enforcement. The more I uncovered, the more it felt like a concerted effort against my family, a disturbing mix of community governance and policing that only fueled my resolve to fight back. We were no longer just fighting for our RV, we were challenging an entire system that stifled our rights as homeowners. As news of our situation spread through the neighborhood, we were taken aback by the wave of support that began to build. Many residents who had either experienced similar conflicts with the HOA or felt uneasy about its increasing authoritarian stance reached out to us. They shared their stories, expressing solidarity and frustration over how the HOA seemed to prioritize control over community well-being. During a community meeting we organized, the atmosphere was charged with emotion and determination. Neighbors voiced their concerns not just about their own experiences, but also about how the HOA's heavy-handed tactics had stifled open dialogue and camaraderie among residents. It became clear that our fight was resonating with many, sparking a collective desire for change. Several families even offered to join us in confronting the HOA board, ready to stand together and demand accountability. This newfound unity was empowering. We were no longer isolated but part of a larger movement seeking to reclaim our rights as homeowners. The stories shared during these gatherings illustrated a troubling pattern of overreach that had affected various aspects of life in our community. With each conversation, our resolve grew stronger. We realized that this incident was not just about our RV. It represented a crucial moment for our neighborhood. The support we received ignited a renewed sense of hope, turning our struggle into a community-wide effort to challenge the status quo and promote a more inclusive and transparent approach to governance. Together, we felt ready to confront the HOA with a united front, demanding respect for our rights and a return to a more neighborly spirit. As we gathered momentum within the community, it became increasingly clear that our situation had legal implications that warranted serious consideration. Consulting with a local attorney who specialized in HOA disputes was our next logical step. During our meeting, we discussed the nuances of HOA governance and the rights afforded to homeowners under state law. The attorney emphasized that while HOAs have the authority to enforce rules, they must do so transparently and fairly. We reviewed the towing notice and any accompanying documentation, evaluating whether proper procedures had been followed. The attorney noted potential violations of our rights, particularly concerning due process and the lack of any previous warnings before the towing occurred. This insight was crucial. It suggested we had grounds not only for challenging the towing, but also for addressing broader issues with the HOA's enforcement practices. Equipped with this knowledge, we drafted a formal letter outlining our grievances, demanding a review of the towing incident and changes to HOA policies regarding vehicle storage. We also included a request for an open forum where residents could voice their concerns without fear of retaliation. Simultaneously, we began exploring the possibility of organizing a petition among residents to push for reforms in HOA governance. The legal landscape was complex, but we felt empowered by the support of our neighbors and the guidance from our attorney. As we prepared to confront the HOA board, we knew that standing up for our rights could pave the way for a more equitable community, a legacy worth fighting for. As we reflected on our journey, it became evident that the experience was about much more than just our RV or the HOA's enforcement practices. It had transformed into a profound exploration of community rights and the balance of power in residential governance. Initially, we felt isolated and targeted, but as we rallied our neighbors, we discovered a shared sense of purpose that transcended our individual frustrations. This situation illuminated the importance of transparency and accountability in community organizations. It raised critical questions about how much control HOAs should wield over homeowners' lives and what recourse residents have when they feel oppressed. Our fight underscored a broader issue prevalent in many communities across the country, where residents often feel at the mercy of stringent rules and arbitrary enforcement by governing bodies. Moreover, it prompted us to think about the implications of surveillance within our neighborhoods. The idea that police were involved in monitoring our RV not only felt invasive but also highlighted concerns about privacy and the extent to which local authorities could be influenced by HOA complaints. This realization sparked discussions about how communities can foster a spirit of cooperation without sacrificing individual freedoms. As we prepared for our confrontation with the HOA board, we recognized that we were not just advocating for ourselves. We were standing up for every resident who had ever felt powerless against an overreaching authority. This experience galvanized our commitment to fostering a more open and respectful dialogue within our community, an effort that could lead to lasting changes for generations to come. As we approached the conclusion of our challenging journey, it became clear that our experience had sparked a vital conversation about homeowners' rights and community governance. What began as a personal battle over our RV had transformed into a collective movement, one that rallied neighbors and ignited a passion for change. We recognized that standing up against the HOA was not just about reclaiming our property, it was about asserting our voices in a system that often silenced them. In preparing to confront the HOA board, we felt empowered by the support of our community. We were no longer alone. We were part of a larger effort to demand accountability and transparency from those who governed us. Our call to action extended beyond our immediate circumstances. It invited every resident to engage actively in local governance, to question decisions that affect their lives, and to hold their leaders accountable. We urged our neighbors to stay informed about HOA rules and to speak up when they felt their rights were being infringed upon. We encouraged everyone to attend meetings, ask questions, and foster an environment where open dialogue thrived. Together, we could create a neighborhood where residents felt empowered rather than oppressed. As we prepared for our meeting with the HOA board, we carried not just our grievances but the hopes of our entire community. Our story serves as a reminder that when individuals unite for a common cause, they can effectuate meaningful change. It's time for all homeowners to stand up and reclaim their voices, because together, we can ensure that our homes are places of freedom, respect, and community spirit.